that we had all of our guest speakers here. The session will be recorded so that we can post it later should we not get any Zoom bombers. We want to ensure that we provide information to those that cannot attend. My name is Jay Franklin, Associate Director of New Student Family Programs. With us here today is Jeremy Williamson, Director of Facilities and Operations, Tanya Snedden, Assistant Director of Licensing and Marketing, my supervisor, Christiana Moen, Director of New Student Family Programs. A little bit about me. I grew up at Cal State San Marcos, that's a joke, but I have been at the university and got my undergrad in human development, got my master's degree in education, and literally watched the campus grow since 2005. So tonight we're going to go and do a brief overview of Move Out. We're hopeful that you all have the opportunity to get the information that you need to help your students successfully move out of our facilities. With that said, I'm going to turn this over to Jeremy. Take it away.
All right, thanks, Jay. Appreciate that. Hi, folks. Again, my name is Jeremy Williamson. I am the Director of Operations and Facilities. Some of you are familiar to me, and so great to see you at the kind of the finale of the year. For those that don't recognize me, that's okay. Hopefully after this meeting, I would have provided the majority of the information that you need. And if not, we'll make sure that you have an opportunity to get in contact with us with any pertinent issues around move out. The majority, or really all of this particular presentation revolves around the move out process. Since COVID happened, we, and different policies were put into place, we thought it might be useful for folks that are currently living in the space to understand how our process works in regard to move out, making sure that I see a lot of probably parents and families on this call. So just to make sure that you understand what that process looks like and can be aware of just the communication that's being put out to all of the residents. And so we do have a slideshow presentation. And I'm going to make sure that I share that. I'll ask my colleagues to let me know if folks can see it on this call. See a cougar. All right, can you all see the presentation?
No, not yet.
Not yet. I think after all these.
While Jeremy's pulling that up, this is Christiana here, and I wanted to put in a shameless plug for our family webinar that takes place next Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. on the 10th, to learn a little bit more about becoming a family ambassador and supporting our next cycle of new students and families and coming into the university. So if you're interested in volunteering or supporting in the next year here as a family ambassador, we really would encourage you to come out to our information session next Wednesday at 7 o'clock to take advantage of learning about what that looks like, all the wonderful perks and benefits to you in that experience, and how much you learn about campus just the same. So I'll put my shameless plug out there as Jeremy's pulling up his presentation just the same. And also let you all know that we'll have our chat shut down for the time period of Jeremy presenting so that we can focus on the content that he's sharing and avoid overlapping information and the same questions that will be shared otherwise. And then we can open that up as well as for questions at the end of his session there.
All right. Any luck now?
No, still not. And you do have screen sharing capabilities. But if you want to send the presentation, or Jay, if you have it, or you want to send it to me, I can alternatively pull it up for you. Oh, something's happening now. We can see it now.
See that? How about, is that good?
Yes, we can see the presentation, but we see your like whole view versus like the yeah, now it's buffered and it's there. So maybe just a delay. You're all set.
All right, there we go. Sorry about that, folks. So housing move out meeting, welcome. Just as a precursor to the details, probably the main thing you should understand and know is that the move out deadline is currently Monday, May 22nd for the majority of folks on this call by noon. And so if you look at your license agreement, most of you will see that the term is Monday, May 22nd. So for some of our spring folks that sign the spring license, that date is the 23rd by noon. But the majority of folks on this call likely are that May 22nd date. While that is the last day to move out, we're really encouraging residents to move out once they have completed their final exams or after the last day of classes. As you can imagine, once you don't have any classes left, there's not a lot to get into, but potentially trouble. And so our communication to the residents mainly is that if you have completed your last day of classes and you don't have any finals, we encourage you to go ahead and start to move out. And, you know, go see family or friends or whatever your plans are for the summer. But technically, the last day is Monday, May 22nd by noon. Residents that have not fully moved out, and that essentially means removing all of their belongings and turning their keys by noon on that deadline date, will be charged a $150 holdover fee. Just so folks on the call know, we do have a plan for our maintenance team and cleaning crews to come into the residence halls. And so as we prepare for summer residents to move in and we have summer camps and conferences that come into the space, we're on a pretty tight deadline to get those spaces turned over. And so we're really asking folks to try and really stick to that deadline. But we know that things happen, but as much as possible, we're asking folks to plan for that. And this is somewhat of hopefully a deterrent for folks to hang out and stay around after that deadline. One of the questions that we get often is, well, we have this X thing going on. We need an extension. We can't get down to help our student on that date for whatever reason. If you need an extension to that, please get in touch with us. Our contact information will be posted at the end of this. But if you need an extension, please let us know and we'll work with you on that. But again, please plan accordingly. We've also communicated to residents, and I'll probably mention this again later, that as those that are able to go home and commute back and forth on the weekends, they should go ahead and start taking things home now. You can imagine that folks really accumulate a lot of stuff over the semester. And so we don't want people to get caught closer to this date and be like, oh my gosh, I have all of these things. What am I going to do with this stuff? My colleague Juliana is going to talk to you a little bit about what they could do. But in the meantime, if you have a student that is coming home over the weekend, just say, hey, are you bringing stuff home slowly but surely? Obviously, they should keep their essentials, but if they've got extra things, or if you have extra things, go ahead and start taking those things home if you can. Move out helpers, understanding that we're post-pandemic, in the pandemic, whatever your opinion is around that, helpers will be allowed to come in and assist residents with moving out. If, however, you have symptoms of COVID-19 on the day or the night before, we're really asking that you not enter the community. Again, remember that you're coming into a space with other students and families on this date, and we're really trying to just keep that very limited. And so if you have symptoms of COVID-19, please don't show up to help. But we are allowing move out helpers, and there is no current limit to that. Just understand that if you helped with move in, you know how big that space is. And so it might not make sense to bring like the whole gang into the apartments or suites. We will have a limited number of moving bins available for checkout. This will start and be available on May 16th. Our vendor was only able to meet that date. And so if you have students moving out on the May 16th date and beyond, we will have some bins available. So keeping that in mind, just understand that that's on a first come, first served basis. And what that really means is if you are able to bring dollies or hand trucks, for sure, we encourage that. If you can do that, but we'll also have a limited number of bins available for people to move out. We're asking folks to limit that usage at about an hour, so everybody has a chance to take advantage of that offering. And then just making sure that you respect others' belongings in the space, and just not taking other people's items, or just making sure we treat other people's things with respect as folks are moving in and out of the apartments, and being respectful of others, knowing that everyone is kind of trying to do the same thing and move out. As far as parking goes, this is a big one, but ultimately parking permits are always required in our lots. And so unfortunately, there is no free parking available for move out. Housing does not control parking on campus, and so we're not able to make that exception. If you need to do a temporary day pass because you might be there for an extended amount of time, I've posted the website here on this slide for you to get that information on the day. For a lot of you, if you have a student that already has a parking pass in the car, awesome, great. But ultimately, if you have additional vehicles, you won't be able to park in the spaces unless you purchase a temporary parking pass. For my folks that live at the quad, there is that street parking. I believe there are some 30-minute spaces or up to an hour spaces, depending on where you park. There is that back lot at the quad. We're asking folks not to park there to unload or upload or any of that in that back lot, mainly because of the dining hall. That is where they're receiving items, and we've got a lot of large trucks and things in that back space, and so we're discouraging you trying to do that. And they tow in that lot, and so we don't want anyone to end up getting towed because you don't have a parking pass in that lot. So please keep that in mind as you plan to potentially come in and help. Parking is not free, and so you'll need to make a plan around parking. All right, so keys. This is one of the biggest things we want people to pay attention to. And so as you're speaking with your student, if I have students on this call, I want you to understand that your keys are probably going to be one of the most important things that you turn in as part of this process. When we receive the keys, that lets us know that you've moved out of the space. This isn't a hotel situation where sometimes you could just, I'll leave the keys in the drawer and I'm out of here. I don't have time to go stop by at the desk. Please don't do that, because if we don't know that, or we don't see that your keys have been turned in, we assume that you still have possession of those keys. And possession of the keys implies that you still have possession of the space. And so once we receive the keys, that's how we know that you've released the space and you're no longer occupying it. And so if you say, well, my kid moved out, or I left the keys in the, or I took the keys, accidentally took the keys with us. And so now it's noon, and or it's the day after, and I haven't turned in my keys, and you're trying to charge me $150. We're not there. That's a conversation you don't want to have to get into with us. And so ultimately, I'm encouraging you, make sure that you turn your keys in. If you don't do anything else, if you leave the apartment a mess, please turn your keys in so that we know that you have checked out. Business hours, you can turn your keys in to the front desk at your specific site. What we're asking folks to do is when you bring those keys up, we'll give you an envelope, put your first and last name on it, your room number, so we can know that those keys belong to this person. So very important there. The front desks are open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Those are the business hours. We do have extended hours at UVA and North Commons, but I want you to do that between 8 and 5 if possible. Again, the deadline is noon on May 22nd for the majority of folks here. And so that's what I want you to understand is you should turn your keys in by that time at the very latest. For after hours, let's say it's before the 22nd and I don't have any finals, my last day is here, but oh, it's after 5 p.m. What am I supposed to do? That's okay. What we'll ask, and we'll make sure that we have envelopes available, but if you know that you'll likely move out after hours, as much as possible, if you can go get one of those free envelopes at the front desk to put your name on it and your room number. What you can do is at each community, we have a key drop box located at around or near the front desks. And so they're outside, so you don't even need access into the building per se. And so just make sure that you can identify where those lock boxes are. And we'll make sure that via social media, and we'll communicate this to all residents where they're designated after hours key drop off boxes located, so that they know where they can drop those keys off if they are not able to check out during those regular business hours. It's okay that you can't drop it off between Monday through Friday. If it's Saturday, Sunday, if it's the evening, that's okay. What we're really asking is that you just make sure you put it in an envelope and you put your name, first, last name, and the apartment number, so we know who to attribute those keys to. Lost keys, this happens and that's okay. A mailbox key is $25, bedroom key, that hard key is $45, and that key card, that plastic key card that you have, that dip key, is $25. And so if for whatever reason you've lost one of these keys or all of them, these are the charges that will be involved with that. If you've lost them all, but you do check out on time, please let us know so that we don't consider that you still have possession of the apartment. Remember what I mentioned about not turning those keys in. And so if you've lost them all, just please let us know so that we know the date that you've checked out. These charges will be posted on the account based off whatever is lost, but those are the amounts that you would expect if you lost a key. A couple of things we also want folks to keep in mind prior to them checking out and right before they're turning in those keys. An outstanding balance. And so what you know this year is that if you have tuition and fees and there's a balance there, you've been paying on that, then you haven't yet paid for your housing or your dining yet. So please make sure if you're a guarantor on this call, if you're a student on this call, to check for your balance just to make sure you don't have any outstanding balance. And really part of this is really, we don't want you to end up having a hold on your account that may impact you being able to attend classes this fall, or if you need summer housing, or you're interested in coming back for the fall. We can't move forward until you clear that balance. So really, that's an important thing to do, is just check your account balance before you check out, and come see us ahead of move out, just so you can make sure, or we can have a conversation about how you plan to clear that balance. Unfortunately, if it is a situation where there is no plan and you've got an outstanding balance, ultimately this ends up being sent to a collections agency. What we don't want to do is affect people's credit in a negative way. We also don't want to impact your ability to attend classes or register for classes. And so please check that ahead of time. And just know, obviously, if you've cleared the balance, awesome. I'll get into this a little bit later, but if there are damages or lost keys, for instance, then you may end up having a balance after the fact. And so I don't want that to be a surprise when you say, I checked the balance and it was 0. And then all of a sudden, after a week, once we get through and check for damages, you might end up having some type of charge there. Right, so damages, those will be assessed by the professional staff and may result in a charge on your student's account. Now, a lot of times we have people moving out at different times. And what that means is a lot of folks want some confidence that, hey, this is how the room looks now. While I'm leaving out, I'm going to close the door and lock it. Like, everything looks good. If you feel like you're worried about some damages being charged to your account that are not your fault, then definitely take pictures if you want to, just for your own records. What I will tell you is that when we're talking about damages in the common area space, for instance, and maybe there's a poster or a flag up over the hole that was punched in the wall, when that comes down after the last person moves out, ultimately, unless someone in that space claims responsibility for that damage, we end up charging everyone in that apartment evenly. Now, if you're a student, or if you are in a space where it's just you and one other person, and on your side there is no damage and there is damage on another side, this is why it was very important in the front end of the year that people not switch sides. And it's like, I'm on A, I'm in B. If any of you had that conversation with us, it was like, please don't switch, just stay. That's why, because now we're at the place where if you're in A and there are damages in A and you've been licensed for A side, we're going to attribute any damage to the A side, unless the person on the B side says, actually, that was me, I threw a baseball and it went through that side, whatever that might be. So we will assess damages in that way. But for the common area spaces, like if you are staying in a space that has a kitchen, just understand that if for some reason the stove is missing, hey, where's our like, what? We're just gonna charge everyone there until somebody's like, I took it, it's on the roof, please. Okay, so like, just to understand that that's how we will assess those types of damages. Has it ever happened that we've been missing an oven? I don't know. Has it? All right. Before you leave, here are some just general things that we want our residents to understand that will help as they try to move out. Please make sure that you check your mail and update your address with the post office. And so a lot of times, unless a family member, mom, dad, whoever lets their student know, hey, I sent you something, go check your mailbox. A lot of our residents do not check their mailbox. I've got mailboxes overflowing with stuff. A lot of it might be junk, but some of it might be important. So we always encourage residents to check their mailbox before they turn in their keys, just to make sure there's nothing in there that they need. We'll ask folks to take all of their trash and recycling out, take out any food that might belong to you. This is really so that you don't get charged for leaving a bunch of trash in the space, and it's an extra cleaning charge outside of reasonable cleaning by the staff that's going to come in. We ask folks to turn off all the lights. This is really just an energy saving situation. Close all the windows. Again, if it rains, if there's a cat around or something, or I don't know, gosh, just you accidentally left the air conditioner on, please just close all the windows. It's a security piece for us as well. Turn off the thermostat. I mentioned the HVAC. Go ahead and turn that off. If you brought a bike to this mountain, please make sure you grab that bike. I've seen some really nice bikes. They got the little baskets on the front of them. I remember some of the dads on this call came in rolling, smiling, loved it. Your kid didn't ride the bike, and that's okay. It's a whole hill. This is there are stairs. This is the side of a mountain. They weren't going to ride that bike, but we don't want you to be out of bike because the police department will come over and take those abandoned bikes and probably donate them to someone who will ride it. Maybe, maybe not. But point is, don't forget your bike. We get so many really cool bikes left behind. I'm biked out. I don't need any, and so please don't forget the bike. Now, speaking of things being donated, those really cool bikes, you know, maybe that really cool table that your student found on the side of the road and brought it in. I'm going to kind of transition over to a really good friend and colleague of ours. Her name is Juliana. And I'm going to let her talk to you a little bit about donations and kind of how we would like our residents to approach that.
Thanks, Jeremy. Hi, everyone. My name is Juliana Goodlaw Morris, and I'm the Sustainability Manager here at Cal State San Marcos. And we are on a journey to get to zero waste by 2025. That's 2 years from now, if you can imagine. What does that mean? It means that we are trying our hardest to keep what we have on campus and either reuse it, repurpose it, recycle it, compost it. But the last and ultimate last thing is to throw it in the landfill. And so at Move Out, if you can imagine, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And so what we do is we have what we call Crash's Clean Out. Crash is our lovely mascot here. And the idea is that actually starting next week, Monday, we will have bins set up in all 3 housing locations for your students to donate all sorts of stuff. We will take pretty much anything that can be repurposed, reused, recycled, because what we do with it is we end up giving it back to students in the fall. So the hope is that it can be reused by another student when they come. So we will take anything, and I think on the next slide I have some pictures, but oh, okay. Yep, that one. So we take all of these different items, non-perishable, unopened food. Last year, we collected over 2,000 pounds of food that we then donated to the Cougar Pantry, which is our food pantry on campus for students to access free food for them. And I'm sure many of your students have accessed the lovely food that we offer. And so as long as it's unopened, not perishable, we will take it. So no ice cream, frozen foods, those types of things, milk or that kind of thing, but we'll take cereal and whatever you can imagine. No bread, because that will also not last as well, but everything else unopened, ideally, we will take it. We will also take all of your kitchen items. So many of your students realized that they had too many pots and pans, or they really didn't need 12 forks, or whatever the case may be. We will take it and regift it back out in the beginning of the school year to students that will need those items when they come back. We get lots of Tupperware. We get lots of pots and pans, toaster ovens, anything that still works, we will take it. Clothes. Last year we re-donated out through our Cougar Thrifts program. We do about twice a semester, if not more, a free clothing swap for students. And so we take all of the clothes that are in good still condition and we re-gift them back out to students as kind of a free thrift store, basically. So we will take your clothes, dorm supplies, any random items that are still in good working condition. So please encourage your students to utilize the bins. I believe they're blue, Jeremy, if I recall from last year. They're big blue donation bins from Goodwill, but prior to Goodwill getting the items, we actually try to sort through as much as we can, and we keep it all and store it all over the summer in a big storage unit. The food, we have separate bins, and we will have signs up in every location of what goes where. And during the week, starting next week, we'll actually have kind of some zero waste ambassadors that will be out at the different locations at random hours, trying to encourage your students to donate whatever they don't want anymore. And so if they have questions, those folks will be there to help them out. And then they can also bring their stuff to those tables and be like, I don't know where anything goes. And we will help them put them in the right locations. If you want to go back a slide. So this is, some of you may be more familiar with the buildings, but at the quad, there'll be 4 donation drop-off locations. That's the upper picture. At the UVA, there's 5 donation pickup locations. And then at North Commons, there's 2. North Commons is our newest location, as you most know, all of you know. And because that is not a apartment style, we assume that the stuff we'll get there will mostly be clothing and maybe some, random dorm room type of supplies. Anything that we don't want to keep on campus, we then donate through the Goodwill. They've been a great partner. We've had all sorts of things, all sorts of furniture. Like Jeremy said, the most random things that students are able to get into their dorm rooms. Last year, there was a ping pong table that I was super excited to take home with me. And then it had a broken side to it. So my kids didn't get to enjoy that. But we find all sorts of treasures in this. And as you're moving out, you are more than welcome to pick up and take something that you see that you want. People are a little bit, parents will come through and be like, oh, can I take that? Sure. We just want to have it go to a good home. We don't want it to be thrown to the landfill, and we just really want to try to give it a second life. So if you can encourage your students, and if you're on here, please encourage your friends and roommates to do the same. And again, these bins are going to be up starting next week, because we know that if we can get them out there soon, maybe next week there really won't be much in the bins, but at least your students will be seeing them, they'll see the signage, and hopefully it'll trigger them to start to put stuff in there, so we don't have a massive donation drop off on May 22nd. So the earlier they can do it, the better. That will help us, because we only have so many hands to start sorting through stuff. The other thing that I would just add is to really just be mindful of where you're putting your stuff. Those bins are not garbage bins. We have gotten garbage, or we've gotten, fridge clean outs into those bins. And so we really ask you to put that, whatever it might be, in the landfill or the recycling, and try to really encourage your students to utilize the bins properly with the signage that's on them. So we will separate the food with all the other stuff. Next slide. I think, Jeremy, I don't know if there's a next slide.
No, it's really a thank
Yeah.
you.
So we really, really encourage you and thank you to help us get to our zero waste goals and help us with this Crashes Move Out. Last year, we donated or, repurposed over 12,000 pounds of items. A large majority of that went to the Goodwill, but we did keep a good percentage of that on campus. And students and families are so, so grateful to, take your bowls as a second life next fall. It really does help out students. It helps out students that either just don't have the money to buy items, or sometimes we have a lot of international students that stay in our housing, and they're only going to be here for a semester or a year, and there's no need for them to go buy something if we have a perfectly good set of silverware for them. So really encourage you to utilize the bins. Like I said, they're up starting next week, and they'll be up until the Monday when you officially have to be out. So thank you. And if you have any questions, I will put our email in the chat, but otherwise we really, really appreciate you assisting your students and helping us get to the zero waste goal. Thank you.
Thanks, Juliana. And like she said, some of you may have also taken advantage or maybe even seen Juliana at those tables at move-in day with that Tupperware. And I know a lot of folks took advantage of that. I'm like, hey, is this pot free? Yes, it is. Take it. So it is a pretty cool program set aside as folks were moving in and maybe saw some things that you don't have to go to Target or Walmart or wherever to go pick up some more Tupperware because it was donated the previous year. So a really great program and a great way to help serve students, especially those that may not be able to afford or get those items readily, especially our international students. You don't need 8 can openers. So if you're a student decides to bring can openers back home. You say, do we need this? Take it back and donate. And then they've done their good deed on that day.
Yeah, and I will say, Jeremy, that it's usually the parents that are like, "Ooh, we can take this stuff to my child's dorm room
Yeah.
on move in," and sometimes the students are a little bit shy or don't feel comfortable, but just know that you are helping us, kind of bring these things to light again. And if you don't have anything, that's totally fine. If you're going to take everything, that's totally fine. But the items that we have gotten have gone back and been repurposed, and our staff get to take cool things too. I have a great food processor that I got last year, and I use it like once a week. So, sometimes you find these amazing items that students have donated. So all sorts of fun stuff that, you just don't need or want anymore. So we really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Juliana. So again, these have been somewhat of our general items that we want to help folks understand and know around this process. We will continue to be in touch. We have sent out a few communications already in general to students through our property management software. And so they've gotten I believe a 90-day, a 60-day, and more recently that 30-day notice to say, hey, get ready for move out. This is the date. Be prepared. These are some lists of things that you might want to start doing on the way out. I have Tanya Snedden on this call, who is our licensing and marketing director, and she will continue to mark it out on social media to just remind folks of these lists. And so in the event that I did not cover all of the things that you need to know around move out, we have listed here the housing email address so that if you have a question related to move out that I didn't cover, please feel free to send us an email there. That's housing@csusm.edu. And then there's our website, csusm.edu/housing, that ultimately you can just go peruse the site for just general information around housing. One of the things that I do want to talk to you a little bit about is, I know that we've got really everyone on this call is current. And so some of you may be interested in staying with us again this summer. For those that are interested in staying in the summer and have not applied yet, feel free to apply. It's a really good deal for those that are currently staying with us, especially for the area. I think it's about $2,000 for the entire summer. We also have some desk assistant positions that are opening up this summer. And so those are the students you might be seeing at the desk, or maybe you've called the front desk and heard a student voice. And so if your student has to stay for summer classes and is interested in working within housing at the front desk, I encourage folks to apply. Again, they can find that information really around the residence halls, but also we'll post that on social media. A really good deal for any of my students on this call is you get free housing, and you also get an hourly wage of, it's like $16.30 an hour. And so if you plan to be here over the summer, even if you're not taking summer classes, you can be a desk assistant. But also, again, if you just need housing for an internship or something to that effect for the summer, as a returning or current resident, there's a discounted rate for folks that might need housing. So it basically turns out to be about $1,000 a month. And if you know anything about the San Marcos area and the cost of living, that's a really good deal for what you get in terms of housing and all the things that are included in that. And so I'm going to plug that, but also just want to let folks know, if you have not heard about summer housing as an option that is available at this point, all you really would need to do is go apply online for either the Quad or University Village Apartments. Unfortunately, if you're at North Commons, we are not able to provide summer housing in that space. And so you would have to move out and into UVA or the Quad if you decided to take advantage of that offer. Additionally, I know that we've got some folks here interested in returning for the fall. And so what I'll tell you, while this is a move out presentation, I do want to recognize that I know I have some folks that may be concerned about the fall and getting housing secured for your student, especially if you're a returner. We really do appreciate your willingness and want to stay and return back with us this fall. What I'll tell you, just like if you had a student that was a first year student this past year and they've kind of gone through their first year and they have not been able to get that license secured for fall as a renewal, I want you to just hang in there. We have been given a priority to help try to accommodate those first year students. Mainly they have that mandate to stay on campus. And so because that mandate is in place, we're really trying to accommodate those students first. We were limited in our ability to take back all of the returners. And so we had a pretty solid cap there. And I know that some people were, we renewed that same day that you put out the link and we still didn't get it. I just want you to know that we understand that, and I understand the frustration around it. But if you're able to and you're willing to wait and stay on that wait list, if you've been told that you're on the wait list, we see a lot of movement through the summer. I know that's not something folks want to hear, but we do see a lot of people come out of housing based on, just their inability to attend in the fall. CSUSM was not their first choice. They found something different. All of these different reasons end up opening up space for our returners. And so if you have the ability to kind of hang tight on that wait list, awesome. If not, I would encourage you to definitely take a look at other options in the area. We do have a website on the CSUSM website for off-campus housing. It's a list that was put together for off-campus housing in the area. It's not sponsored by the university. It's not sponsored by CSUSM Housing, but it's a way for you not to have to go and search for other housing options separately. It's all kind of just right there for you. And so it would be up to you to determine what might be the best fit for you. But I would encourage anyone that is feeling anxious about that and feeling like, hey, if my kid needs housing, I'm not going to be able to get it through you, then what are my options? If you go to the CSUSM website and just search off-campus housing, a list of housing in the area off campus has been put together, so you don't have to go and try to search for all of that. That is available for my folks that are anxious about being waitlisted. But I'll tell you that in general, we do see more movement off of the wait list and into licensed housing closer to the summer, midsummer. I know it's May, and so I'm talking more like June and July. But we also anticipate that we have a higher first year class coming into this fall semester. I believe compared to last year, the intent to enroll, at least even for our students out of the local service area, is up around 14% the last time I checked. And that's a really high number. And so when we've told these people that ultimately, and I did not do it, I did not tell them this, but ultimately, because I represent housing, I guess I did, but ultimately with that mandate in place and them having to live on campus, we've had to make somewhat of an accommodation for those students first. And so I want to put that out there and kind of just recognize that for you, that we understand the frustration around it, especially from our returners. We love the fact that people want to return and they want to come back to housing. And so as much as possible, we'll try to accommodate that when we can. But I want to be very transparent here. As I give the opportunity for people to ask questions within this call, I want to try to limit that to questions around move out that maybe you need clarification, maybe you got on the call late. So I want to try to keep it at that. And then if you have questions about licensing, what I'm going to give you is my bucket response right now is please reach out to us via email. There's a very busy, high traffic season for my licensing team. And so I've got one person at each community responding to those shared inboxes. And so it may take a little bit of time, but I promise you, we are going to get to your email and respond to your question if you haven't heard from us yet. I've tasked my team with that being the priority outside of licensing. And so they all understand how important it is for you to get a response back if you reply or send a note to that email. But I want to put that out there. And so as we open this particular time slot up, we're right at about the 10 minutes left mark. And so I want to make sure folks have an opportunity to ask questions. And so what I'll ask from the folks on this call is to just please respect the fact that people are on this call and really are here to listen to other questions that maybe they didn't think of, or just be respectful around not pranking us and telling jokes or whatever, but also just really just limit the questions to the move out process. And I promise you, if you reach out to us in those on this email address here, housing@csusm.edu, we will get back to you about any questions or concerns you might have in regard to that. Hopefully you feel like that's fair. And so at this point, I'm going to open it up for questions. And what I believe we'll ask is if you raise your hand, if you know how to do that on Zoom, there's a little button where you can raise your hand there.